A family dinner. 4 people. 4 voices. Laughter that keeps stepping on itself, like the tape can't decide what it heard. In the far corner of the room, not near the table, not near the light, a shape stands perfectly still. It doesn't move when someone raises a glass. It doesn't react when a chair scrapes the floor. It doesn't blink, because the tape never gives it eyes. The family keeps eating. They keep talking. They keep passing dishes right in front of that corner. And the camera never zooms in, because whoever filmed this dinner either didn't see the corner, or they saw it the whole time and wanted the tape to prove it. There's a reason tapes like this feel worse than a regular ghost story. They don't try to entertain you. They just leave evidence behind and force you to live with it. This one is labeled in faded marker, 09/24/1995, dinner. And underneath, written over itself like the person hesitated mid-word, unfinished. No intro, no warning. Just a warm kitchen, a dinner table, and the sense that something is standing in the wrong place. The most important detail is this. None of the 4 people at the table ever look toward that corner. They don't stare, they don't even glance. Like that corner has been erased from their mental map. And you start wondering, if you were sitting in that room, would you see it? Or would you talk about school, work, and the weather, while a stranger stands a few feet away? Family dinner is something everyone recognizes. Steam rising off food, small talk, clipped laughter, and short, harmless silences. But here, everything is right in a way that turns your stomach. The father sits to the right, looking down at his plate like he's reading something in his head. The mother smiles, but the smile never reaches her eyes. 2 kids compete to talk, and the audio feels flattened, like the tape is overloaded. That corner, that figure, still. If you slow it down, you'll notice the interference isn't evenly spread across the image. It's thicker around that corner, like the camera is trying to hide it, or trying not to record it. The tape runs close to 18 minutes, and around minute 12, things start slipping out of sync. Laughter lands half a second behind the mouths. A plate clinks, even though nobody touched it. Then comes a silence that feels wrong. The entire family stops talking for almost 4 seconds, like someone just entered the room, but nobody turns around. And in those 4 seconds, if your eyes are patient enough, you realize the figure in the corner isn't in the exact same position anymore. Not walking, no visible motion. Just the distance between it and the table is shorter, like the tape skipped over a piece of reality. There's a brutal rule in recorded memories. The tape remembers what people try to forget. And the question stops being, what is it? It becomes, why do 4 people act like they don't have permission to see it? And why does the tape, something lifeless, react like it's the only thing in the room that panics? When the image comes back, the corner looks slightly clearer, like it's learning how to exist inside the signal. If you've ever stared into darkness long enough, you know the moment your brain starts filling in blanks. It turns a coat rack into a person. It gives eyes to 2 reflections. But this tape does the opposite. It doesn't turn objects into a person. It turns a person into something your brain is not allowed to recognize. Watch how the family moves. They avoid that corner like they're avoiding a low table. No one fully steps into the darkest area. Nobody blocks it. Their paths curve around it, too smooth to be accidental. And you realize this isn't a shadow appearing. This is a family that has lived beside that shadow long enough to treat it like furniture. If you raise the volume, there's something that doesn't belong at a dinner table. A thin layer of breathing, steady and close, like it's right beside the microphone. But the camera is across the room. If the breathing is that close, then someone is standing near the camera. The image never shakes. No footsteps. Just the feeling the person filming is standing next to something that is also standing. The mother says something normal, something like she's about to get more food. But the end of the phrase stretches into something else. Not get more. It sounds like, "Don't look." So is that your brain forcing meaning onto noise? Or is it a second layer pressed into the tape? Or did the tape accidentally keep something the room wanted erased? There's a tiny moment when the father lifts a glass. The kitchen light bends in the reflection. And inside that warped reflection, you see the corner. And here's the problem. The figure doesn't stay still in the reflection. In the main frame, it's a motionless column of dark. But in the reflection, its outline drifts. Like a head tilts, barely, just enough to prove it isn't an object. It feels like there's a rule in that kitchen, and that rule doesn't allow mirrors, glass, or metal to tell on it. Unfinished doesn't just mean the recording ends early. It feels unfinished because the tape is trying to complete something it doesn't have permission to finish. The family goes silent again. No cue, no signal. They stop together. And this time, the figure changes in a way that's quieter than any glitch. It deepens. Not clearer, heavier. Like it's being granted bandwidth. Then the exposure shifts just enough to reveal a boundary beneath the figure's feet. The floor stops looking like floor. It looks like a darker patch, like a dent in the image itself. And you start to understand why they don't look. Not because they can't see, because looking might be an action that triggers something. Now the tape behaves like something alive. It hesitates on frames like it's deciding how much it can show you. The mother stands up. The chair drags with an unnaturally long squeal. Not because she pulled hard, because the sound is stretched like the tape is being held back. She walks toward the corner, not looking straight at it, not calling anyone, just moving like she lives there while being careful not to touch the air. Then comes the moment you realize the whole room is following a rule. One kid stops mid-sentence. The father sets his glass down without a clink. Like attention, and even sound, has been withdrawn. In that silence, the figure changes texture. It stops being a dark column. It becomes a person wearing something too dark for the camera to process. And the dent beneath it spreads, a darkness eating into the floor like a stain in the signal. The tape won't give you the mother's face clearly. It keeps her on the edge of your vision. But then the worst thing happens. The camera adjusts on its own. Nobody touches it. No footsteps approach. Just a slight tilt, so small it feels like a blink. Like a pair of eyes finally decided to look. The corner brightens just enough. And in that extra light, you see a detail that makes every easy explanation collapse. The figure doesn't have a clean boundary from the other shadows in the kitchen. It's like it borrows the room's shadows to get a shape. Like it only exists when someone provides context for it. And even as the camera looks straight at it, the family doesn't react. They keep their eyes on the table. Like they're holding a promise. If we don't look, it doesn't get to step out. You expect a scream, a run, a sign. But what you get is worse. A small, normal movement. The father turns his head. Not toward the corner, just a reflex. Like checking the clock. Like reacting to nothing at all. And the tape locks up. It doesn't end gently. It feels like someone pulls the plug on a memory. Blue screen, then black. But right before it goes fully black, there's one last frame. Broken, wrong. Just long enough to show. The figure isn't in the corner anymore. It's standing in the middle of the kitchen. Closer to the camera than it has ever been. And the truly sick part is this. The family is still there, unchanged. Like their reality didn't update in time. There are two ways to understand the fifth presence. The first is simple. An intruder. An entity. Something that doesn't belong. But the second is the one that lingers. The fifth might not be what's standing in the corner. It could be the person filming, silent beside the camera, watching the family like a staged scene. It could be another version of someone in the house, a copy that slipped out of attention. Or it could be you, the one who came later, staring into a memory that doesn't belong to you, becoming the only set of eyes willing to look straight. This tape isn't unfinished because it lacks an ending. It's unfinished because it refuses to give you a safe conclusion. It leaves you with one question. In a room where everyone agrees not to look, what's more terrifying, the thing in the corner, or the silent agreement that keeps it there? A kind of horror doesn't need blood, doesn't need screaming. It's the horror of agreement. A family can live next to something wrong if they all quietly decide it's not worth naming. That's what the figure becomes here. Not a monster. A test. Not a test of bravery, but a test of how well you understand the way people protect themselves through denial. In real life, we have corners like that too. A family problem, a community secret, a childhood memory that never settles right. We cover it with routine, with repeated stories, with busyness. And when someone accidentally turns their head, the system reacts. A sudden silence, a topic change. A moment that gets unplugged from the conversation. The disturbing part is that we don't always do this because evil is powerful. Sometimes we do it because normal life is seductive. It offers warm light, a plate of food, a laugh, the comforting illusion that everything is fine. As long as you don't look where you're not supposed to look. The unfinished tape suggests that memory doesn't only record events. It records contracts. What we agree to notice and what we agree to be blind to. And sometimes what's locked in the static isn't a creature at all. It's the piece of truth we're afraid to name out loud. If this tape were real, who do you think the fifth presence actually is? An entity, an intruder, or someone in the family turned into a blind spot? And why would the camera be the first thing that chooses to look directly? Leave your theory and point to one specific detail you're basing it on. So we can see whether we're all watching the same corner or whether the tape is guiding our eyes in its own way.